Boy, it got quiet quick. Well, good afternoon. Welcome to the September 6th Rotary meeting. I missed you all last week. I hope you had a great weekend. I'm Stephen Hammers, the president this year. You don't need to clap, but thank you. We're gonna have a great meeting today. Pledge and four-way test is by Kip Dotson. Invocation by Susie Lindsay. And Happy Bucks by Jared. So Susie, all yours.
Bow with me, please. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for all you've given us. You've given us the freedom to meet together as a Rotary Club, the freedom to do good in our community as well as in the world. And God, please continue to guide our efforts. Please watch over those club members who are unable to attend today. Please watch over those who are suffering with illnesses or helping family members through illnesses. And we're just so blessed every day to be here in Brentwood and in Williamson County and to have all the gifts that you have given us. And we continue to serve you as long as we're able. And God, thank you again for everything you've given us. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance. And now the rules we live by. Number 1. Number 2. Number 3. Number 4.
Well, I've said that a lot in the last 26 years. Jennifer. All right, Jennifer Wayne's gonna introduce our guest and visiting Rotarians.
Hello, everyone. Happy September. Okay, people, aren't we interested in our guests? Okay. So from the table outside, at the end, if I've forgotten anybody, please let us know. But first we have Beth Dormany is hosting. Where'd Beth go? There she is.
So this is my good friend, Steve Bolstad, and I've been good friends with he and his wife, Janet, and also Lori Reed and her husband are good friends with him as well, which I didn't know. We just made the mutual connection. But we met years ago at Bob's Steakhouse on our way to Predator games because Colleen and I would frequent and do our season tickets. We'd sit up at the bar and eat our food and then go over to the Preds game, and we got to know he and his wife because we're always there decked out in their jerseys and all of that. And then we got to know him more in Franklin over the years, but he's a wonderful human being. I've been trying to talk him into being a Rotarian for a couple years, and he's like, I'll go to lunch with you and check it out. But he's a retired Navy pilot, and he works with Delta. He's a commercial pilot now, and he's on his last month of being a commercial pilot. Then he's going to retire from Delta. So, but anyway, his children went to Ravenswood. Then he put both of his boys through Auburn. And one of his sons played football at Auburn. And so he's a big War Eagle fan and all of that. But please welcome my friend, Steve. Thanks for coming, Steve.
Next, Jason has a guest.
A pleasure to have Dan Scarborough with me today. We met in the networking group a couple weeks ago. He's a 3-year transplant from the Austin, Texas, Houston area, former Rotarian down there. He works at the Title Center of the South here in Brentwood and has 3 kids. And thanks for coming. Appreciate it.
And Mark?
Hello, I have with me, go ahead and stand up, Josh Malik. Josh, let's start with the basics, the most important. He's a new dad, okay? 6 months, and you just showed me pictures. So if you need to see some pictures, he's playing it right. He's got new dad, but he works as part of ownership with California Closets, and here in town, some of you may have some of their product in your house, or need to, right? But he's here snooping us out. He heard about Rotary, and he's come to snoop us out. So welcome, Josh.
And we have 2 very special guests today that are In process, we have Scott Robinson. Where's Scott? There you go. I challenge everyone to introduce themselves to Scott. He's got a few more weeks. We also have Rob Eichard. He is in process, so please everyone introduce yourself. And I'm debating whether to really give the mic to Michelle because maybe she should pay during Happy Bucks. Okay, well then, yeah, she gets to pay. So, yeah, Michelle Watkins, she's from the New Franklin Club. She's got a very special presentation for us. And then the speaker, I'll let Chris introduce the speaker in this pretty thing. Okay, that's it.
Thank you, Jennifer. Appreciate it. And our, lo and behold, Jared. Jared.
Yes, sir.
There you go. Happy Bucks.
All right, happy bucks. Let's start back here. Rod Freeman gave us $1 to get started. Who else? Devin?
Finally returned from 7 weeks out of the country, a week going and a week coming back on the Queen Mary, and 4 fabulous weeks in Scotland.
Wow.
I'm never going to fly to Europe again.
Well, Friday, I had the privilege of attending a Rotary meeting. It wasn't ours, of course. It was at the Columbia Breakfast Club. And I was accompanied by the Nashville Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition representatives. And they gave an absolutely scintillating presentation of ways that Rotary is combating human trafficking here in District 6760. So District Governor was in attendance. I had a chance to talk to him and thank him for his support, as well as past Governor Allred. But the point is that we were building a lot of enthusiasm for this movement here in our district. So I hope to have him come speak to our club soon.
All right, who else? Who else we got here?
Retrieving Independence actually has an event next Saturday, which Lauren's going to speak more about, but there's $20 to talk about it. We also have another guest from Retrieving Independence, Jessica, which is she's one of the training coordinators or managers. And then the other guest here is Nick, which is the small guest here. So
Who else we got over here?
I have the pleasure of going to my son's 60th birthday party tonight. And I want to thank
Awesome.
everybody. I'm still here.
Fantastic. Who else we got? Anybody else? Where is Tom Carr?
I haven't.
I want to congratulate him on Florida State being the first team to lose in 2 different continents already this year. And things are looking up. They start off next year with Alabama. What we got? Who else is happy over here? Curry Andrews.
My lap was 44 degrees at night, 72 in the daytime.
Wow.
Back 99.
Michael, your phone went off. You got to put $1 in. We all heard it. We'll take a 20.
Ohio State's terrible.
I don't have any money.
Work for the bank.
Exactly.
About the Rotary jumpers. Anybody, did we get a testimony about the Rotary?
We did 2 weeks ago.
Well,
So Jared, all you got to do is ask, right? Thank you, Jared. Anybody know what's going on Monday? That's not Monday. What's going on Monday? Golf tournament. Hey, Larry's not here. He had to go walk the dog. If you have any last hole sponsors, please get them in. We can take them as late as we need to. If you're wondering about your assignments, Susie's got it all taken care of. So we'll see you all there Monday. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be great. Also, first responders picnic. Don't forget, it's next Thursday. We will not be here next Friday. Lori Reed here. I think she showed up last Friday here. We will not have our Rotary meeting next Friday. So when's our next meeting? Thursday night, 5 o'clock. Let's support our first responders, police and fire. Let's have a big crowd at the pavilion at Granny White Park. It's gonna be great. I'm gonna have a little easel out there with a little drawing that Michael Hyman did on our 50th anniversary, little, what do you call it? Picnic area, grilled area. It's gonna be great. And that is on the fast track of getting done finally. So it's very exciting. So I'll have a picture of what that might look like. Let me get next. We have an announcement from Michelle Watkins, who is the Franklin Noon Rotary member. Awesome.
And by the way, I'm a sponsor on Monday at the golf tournament. So I'll see some of y'all there. Extra happy bucks. Very good. I'm short. So how do you do this? All right. So I'm Michelle Watkins. I am from the Franklin Noon Rotary. I am not in an officer position there. I'm actually part of PMI Nashville, which keeps me quite busy in running my own company. But we recently had the opportunity to realize that there is now 35 years of women in Rotary. We also have, out of our 5 Williamson County clubs, the 3 in Franklin, it's the first time ever that all 3 have been women presidents. So we thought it was a great year to bring the women of Rotary of Williamson County together. And let's just celebrate. And if you've been wanting to invite a friend or a neighbor, your daughter or granddaughter, men, your wives, if they're not quite in Rotary yet, it's time to join. We would love to have you. So it's going to be, I don't think it's up on there, the little cards, September 24th. It's on a Tuesday, 5:30 to 7:30. And it's off Liberty Pike at the Sapphire Suites. So we would love to see you there and recruit. But I wanted to share with you just briefly my why. So when my dad has been a Rotarian in South Alabama for 20, 30 years, I don't know, I lost count. I thought Rotary was for my dad. I had the opportunity, he asked me to sponsor the multi-district conference in Muscle Shoals. If anybody was there besides Susie. Anybody? That's where I got to meet Susie. And we have hit it off. We realized we live close together and it's been such a pleasure to meet her. But I think for me, besides serving you wine in the hospitality suite and meeting you at my table, it was what you did as Rotarians. You know, I saw my dad sacrificing and giving back, but I saw 3 districts come together, do really great things, do your service project, even with the hairnets on, and I came back and joined Rotary. So I've only been a Rotarian for 2 years, and I love networking with everybody in our district. So I just encourage you to celebrate with us, invite the women friends and your neighbors and your family, but also we are sponsoring Oak Cottage for Women, and it happens to be a Rotarian who's a founder. And their ministry is creating a more stable future for formerly imprisoned women. So there's QR codes, takes you to DACDB, and I look forward to seeing you. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. It's great that y'all are putting that on. Larry, do you want to say anything about Monday?
Definitely. Thank you. The names you see scrolling on the board up here, it may take a few minutes, but are the names of all the members who contributed this year to our tournament. All these folks that you see scrolling up there, sole sponsorships. That number is 71. As a percentage of our club, that's 69%. I failed every subject I made 69 in. I don't know about y'all, but I did. So we're going to work on that. There's obviously some work to be done. That's the lowest total we've ever had since our first year in 2017. think what we'd have done if we'd have had 85 members. I'll have those results for you and other members who contributed at our meeting in October when we do the wrap up. But I've got to recognize two people right off the bat because they epitomize what I thought how this should work. Number one is Peggy Ray. Come here. Come on. Now, Peggy Ray. Thank you. Peggy Ray, new member, right? Joined. Probably didn't even know we had a golf tournament. She joined Rotary because she needed to be in Rotary, like what Rotary's about. Oh, we got a golf tournament. What did she do? She went out and sold 3 sponsorships, $1,850. Now, she never asked me how to do it. She just listened and she saw my hat. And she heard what we said about just ask people. And she just asked people and got 3 great sponsors. So that's the first time I can remember a new member getting that quick and that easy. So that is what we need. The other thing we need is a guy you all know who I just have to recognize again, and I'll recognize him again in October. Mr. Tanksley, would you come up here, please? So you all heard the story. Thank you, buddy. You've all heard the story a million times about 4 or 5 years ago, Jared had sold 15 sponsorships or something. I said, tell everybody what you do. And he came up here and he stood here for a minute. And he said, I just asked. And that was the end of it. And that's just ask came from. So all he did this year was just ask. 32 sponsors. 32. By far the most we've ever had anybody sell. I think he had 24 last year, but 32 sponsors. Hey, this guy just asked. That's all he does. There's nothing magic about you, is there? You don't pay these people to do this, right? No, and I don't say that. Oh, you just lost me. I was being really nice to you and you had to say that. But anyway, thank you. Thank you, Peggy. That's special stuff. Monday looks great, 85 degrees. It's going to be 50 in the morning. No chance of rain, blue skies. We got 116 golfers coming out. We've got 31 workers that Susie has recruited to come out and work. Thank you all very much for that. Several of you work in 2 shifts, which is wonderful. If anybody else wants to just come out and hang around, you can. It's kind of fun. There's a lot going on in the morning and the afternoon late. So if you want to come out and do that, but we're set to go. I'll be back in October with the final results. It looks pretty good. I think we're going to do fairly well this year. We could have done better if we had more people involved. But anyway, thank you all very much, and we'll see you Monday.
Thank you, Larry.
Anybody? No. Anybody have any questions about the tournament or about Monday or anything? Everybody good? Okay.
Hey, Jared, I know why you get so many. The last 2 times I've called you, you asked me if I'd do a whole sponsor. All righty. Like to have Chris Dooney come up. He is going to introduce our speaker for today.
Which, by the way, they are a whole sponsor on Monday. So I've known Lauren for 3 years. I'm on the board of Retrieving Independence, so I'm a little biased here. Lauren's a nonprofit professional, the CEO of Retrieving Independence. She has 15 years of experience working with small to medium-sized organizations, quite the esteemed background dealing with not-for-profits around homelessness, criminal justice, disabilities, mental health organizations in Nashville. She holds a master's degree from Cumberland University and a bachelor's degree from the London Metropolitan University. Prior to joining RI, she was the CEO of a number of Nashville nonprofits, including Project Return, The Contributor, Agape Rescue and Training Center. Couple other facts. Lauren enjoys music, drinking tea, animals, nature, outdoors, and she has two rescue cats named Dory and Dottie, even though she's in charge of a dog organization. So let's all welcome Lauren.
It's a slight correction. Dory and Dottie are dogs, but I do have two cats. They're Maggie and Bobo. So, yeah, you're fine. Just to clarify, I'm both a cat and a dog person. I firmly believe you can be both. Thank you so much for having us today, and we're glad to be here and thrilled to be a whole sponsor for your event on Monday. So I think we were here as a guest a couple of months ago for the check presentation, so we're so grateful for your support as well. And I'll just share a little bit about Retrieving Independence today. So we were founded in 2012. So we're in our 12th year, and our mission is to increase independence and restore dignity through the training and placement of working dogs. And that encompasses a lot of different things, mainly service dogs, assistance dogs. So that's assisting people with physical, mental, and emotional disabilities. But we also train and place facility dogs. So those are dogs that are assigned to specific facilities like schools or nonprofit organizations. We'll tell you a little bit more about that. So who we serve and why. This is a little bit more about how we do things. The way that Retrieving Independence trains and places service dogs is through a really innovative partnership with the Tennessee Department of Correction. So our dogs are actually trained in currently 2 Tennessee prison facilities, Turney Center out in Only, Tennessee, which is a men's prison facility, and then DJRC, which is a women's prison facility here in town. And then in the coming months, we'll be expanding to a 3rd prison facility, Riverbend maximum security facility. And we do that because there's a lot of evidence to suggest that it really improves inmate behavior and cooperation and feelings of self-worth there. So it's really a rehabilitation program for there. And there's a lot of supporting evidence and research that supports that. And it kind of improved outcomes upon their release, but also during their time there. There's a lot of power in the human-animal bond in the prison there. So that's why. But of course, this does not seem to be, where do I need to point it? Okay. There we go. And there's also a significant need to support people who are living with disabilities. So just in Tennessee alone, 29% of people live with a disability. That includes mobility, cognition, hearing, vision, and self-care disabilities. And that costs $17.5 annually, which is about 38% of the state's healthcare spending. Or if you break that down, that's almost $14,000 per year per person with a disability. One of our fully trained service dogs can assist individuals living with disabilities that impact their mobility, so their ability to get around. Diabetic alert, so our dogs can smell changes to blood sugar. Seizure alert, so if someone has seizures, they can smell them before they happen and get medication or let them know to sit down or get somewhere safe. Emotional needs such as PTSD and anxiety, and other mental and emotional disabilities, all kinds of different things. Successful training of a service dog requires a significant investment of time, multiple people. It really takes a village, and a lot of time, 18 to 24 months, and about $50,000. So they're really not just dogs. They're a very important and critical piece of medical equipment, but they're very cute. So how our program works is it's the rehabilitation of inmate trainers through the human-animal bond. So we started in Turney Center 12 years ago. They work as a team, so they're learning communication skills, lots of other soft skills that they can take with them upon release. And something to know is that 95% of people who are incarcerated will go on to be eventually released. So they do need those skills for when they eventually leave. So they'll learn how to work with people. They'll learn to get over a lot of the things that may have landed them there in the first place, because they are receiving weekly therapy from licensed clinical therapists. And they're also learning a tangible skill, and that is the dog training piece. Whether they go on to be dog trainers after the fact, many have and do, but those are also very transferable skills. But they also benefit very much from the companionship of the dog. They live with them 24/7 in their cells. They work with them constantly. And for many of them, it is the very first time that they have experienced unconditional love. So it's a very transformative experience for them. We really rely on a dedicated and large volunteer corps to help us raise these dogs. As you can imagine, prison does not really reflect the real world and what it looks like very much. So our dogs come out of the prison for a week a month and live with volunteers so that they can practice all of their skills in the real world with real world distractions. And the difference between a pet and a service animal is that they have public access. So our volunteers are able to take our dogs places like Target and to the movies and to their jobs with them. And they're able to practice and implement all of their skills while remaining focused and not distracted by noises and, the general public and other dogs, for example. So they're getting to practice all of the things they're learning with their inmate trainers, but with all of the things that really go on in the real world. And we could not do that without our volunteers. So, and we're always looking for more. So if you're interested in having a puppy or a dog for a week a month, talk to this lady here. We have lots of opportunities for various commitment levels. Right now we have puppies, baby ones like Nick, and you can spend a lot of time with them, which is very fun. And the other thing that, our volunteers are doing for us are providing a lot of visibility for the service dog community, but also for the disabled community. It really is raising awareness for what it's like for a person to live with a disability, and what their experience can be like. Because as a able-bodied person walking around with a service dog in a vest, you come to learn what it might be like for a person with a disability and how you may be treated. And it can be a very eye-opening experience. And it's a really important learning experience. And you have the opportunity to educate the general public. So it's very rewarding in that way. And then ultimately, the end goal is for our dogs to be placed with individuals who are living with disabilities. So there's a matching experience where they meet dogs that are going to be able to best assist them with their disabilities. And there's a week-long camp where people learn about how to live and work with their service dog. And then ultimately they start their lives together. There's a graduation ceremony where they get to meet the people that train their dog, the volunteers and the inmate trainers. It's always very emotional because our trainers and volunteers are saying goodbye to a dog that they have worked very closely with for 2 years, but they also get to see the person that it's going to be benefiting for a very long time. So it's a very special moment. And since 2012, we have trained over 100 working dogs, and we place about 15 to 20 dogs annually, which is really cool. And COVID threw a big curve at us because, as you can imagine, that impacted the prison facilities in a very significant way. And we were not able to train our dogs to the standard that we normally would. We had to bring them out of the prisons, and our volunteers really stepped up in that situation. But what it did present us the opportunity for was to grow our facility dog placement. So since then, we have actually really grown this program where we're placing facility dogs which don't have skills and tasks to the level of a service dog, but they provide therapeutic support to children and teachers, or nonprofit organizations that are serving children and teachers, or children and therapists, for example. And so we're able to serve more people through one dog in that way. So we actually have around 10 dogs placed in the Franklin Special Schools District. They're doing amazing work. And then we have Junebug here at the Honey Alexander Center. She goes into therapy appointments with children to help them calm down and be less anxious when they're discussing very difficult things. And that program is really taking off. We're replacing more and more facility dogs, which has been really, really amazing. So here you can see a couple of testimonials from some of our clients. Reba has allowed Caroline to go to work full-time for the first time in her life. And Rex has quite literally saved Andrew's life from serious medical emergencies on hundreds of occasions. Rex is retired and he has a new service dog now. but Rex is still doing great. And then you'll see a couple of these dogs represent the inmate voices here, because it can be very difficult for us to show the work that's happening in the prisons, as you can imagine. So my trainer says that working with me and her fellow inmate trainer is the best decision she ever made. I overheard her tell a recent visitor that she hasn't felt joy like this in the longest time, and that she is feeling positive about the future. My tail began to wag, knowing that our training together helps her to feel good. And I know we're both looking forward to our graduation day. Sometimes my trainer looks at me and says that he sees a soul that says, I love you. He is right. Sometimes he says that he didn't know a dog could teach a person to become more sensitive to the needs of others. With my trainer, I've learned to do lots of new things, but he says I have taught him to be in tune with his heart and to be a better listener. I think that makes us both feel good. So ways to support and things that the program needs. As I mentioned before, it takes approximately 18 to 24 months to train one of our dogs, and it costs approximately $50,000. We have an Amazon wish list for things that we always need, that you can always help us receive. And we have a twice annual recipient camp or client camp, as I mentioned, and those have a lot of items that we always need to cover the cost of meals, educational materials. It's about $7,500 per week, depending on the size of the graduating class. Of course, just unrestricted operating funds are always welcome. And we always just have ongoing needs. You could sponsor a dog for any amount. There's naming rights. You can name a service dog puppy for $1,000. That's a great way to honor someone. Nick is actually named after someone who recently passed away, and they wanted to memorialize them in a really meaningful way. But most importantly, I think, is that we need puppy raisers. We have puppy starters, which is just getting them off to a great start, like Nick here. Raisers, which is taking them for that week a month. And then sitters, which is literally babysitting when one of their raisers has something going on. Flex volunteers, which is event support, going to community events. And then service days, if you have, if your company wants to help with a large event or, doing a cleanup day for our bus. We have a very large bus kitted out with kennels that drives to and from Turney Center several times a month. And it gets, you can imagine with all the dogs, it gets kind of gross. So it needs cleaning every now and again. We have outreach and service dog education opportunities. So we would love to come and do lunch and learns at any of your places of business, and event sponsorship opportunities. We do movie nights at our HQ, community outreach events, and all kinds of things that, we would love to involve you or your community or businesses in. So please reach out. And what we have coming up, it's a really exciting time for us. As Chris mentioned, next Saturday, September 14th, is our annual fundraiser. I know I'm biased, but it genuinely is a very fun event. It's a writer's round night, think Bluebird Cafe kind of thing. It's at our headquarters, which is off of Charlotte Avenue. And it's from 5:30 to 9:30. Tickets are available now. And there's a delicious barbecue dinner, really great music, a wonderful silent auction, and there will be so many puppies there, you won't know what to do with yourselves. So please join us. It's a genuinely great night. We are getting ready for our Assistance Dog International accreditation, and that's the gold standard of service dog accreditation. We're very excited. It's been a 5-year process. So fingers crossed for us on that one, because we've been working really hard. Our expansion to a 3rd prison facility, which is really exciting. We have really exciting partnerships. Vanderbilt Life Flight. Every quarter, we take our dogs to their trauma simulations, where dogs get to spend time in an ambulance, hear the sirens, get used to all the medical equipment so that they're calm and used to it, because that's going to be something that in their working life, they'll definitely experience. The Tennessee Bar Association, we've really set up a good working relationship with them so that we can work with them to ensure they're up to speed with the ADA access laws, which is great. And then in the last week of September going into October, we have a graduation of a brand new class of service dogs, which is really exciting, because that means that some individuals are about to start their new life with a companion by their side that's going to make it better and easier and give them increased independence moving forward. So that's a really exciting time for them, and we can't wait to celebrate. And we do have a public graduation ceremony as well, which will be October 4th. Yes, Friday, October 4th. Yeah. And you're all welcome to attend that also. And that is an overview, and I'm more than happy to take questions. Yes, sir. Thank you very much. That's a great question. So no, they don't. However, our ADI accreditation is a really important piece of that because that will make it easier. Once we're a fully accredited organization, it will make it easier for clients to be able to apply for insurance, particularly for veterans. So that is one reason why it's so important for us to have that accreditation. So we're really, really looking forward to being able to offer that. No. So currently the client investment is $15,000. The rest of it is subsidized by the organization in our operating budget. So we fundraise to cover the remaining cost. Our goal as an organization, we just completed our strategic planning for the next 5 years, is to lower the cost to the client. We would ultimately like to make it lower, no cost to the client. So that is our goal as an organization, so that it's more accessible for any person. Service dog organizations nationwide really vary. Some are no cost to the client and some do pass on the full cost. It can really vary. Ours is kind of average to lower, but ideally we would make it lower. We'd really like to, we do absorb the majority of the cost. Yes.
Is there any particular breed that you have found to be most valuable from this position?
Yeah, so working dogs, any dog can be a working dog, but there are some breeds that are have more aptitude to certain kinds of working dogs. So, you have sheep dogs, can be herding, there's herding dogs, cattle dogs. For assistance dogs, service dogs, and what we have found and typically use is labs and golden retrievers or a cross of that. We have previously used doodles for those that need hypoallergenic. They tend to be a little harder to train or longer to mature, I think is what we say. But yes, labs tend to be very good at being focused and task oriented. So that, but retrievers, for those that need more of a, especially emotional support or psychiatric, they're really loving and snuggly. So those can be really effective as well. Yes.
I'd be interested to hear more about the impact on the inmates, such as lower recidivism rates,
Yes.
less violence. I mean, do you have any data that illustrate how that all works?
We are actually conducting a research study of our own at the moment that will capture the impact of the inmates' feelings of self-worth and kind of their emotions. But of our program, the inmates that have been released from it, there has been 0 recidivism. Now, that's a fairly low number because the program is not huge. But the prisons report back to us that inmate behavior of those that are enrolled in the program is greatly improved. And we do see that as well. They do cooperate a lot better. They get along better with each other. And because they're receiving regular therapy, but they're also being taught a lot of really important skills. And then there are other prison programs like this in the United States, but also all over the world. And there is a lot of data that supports it from various white papers collectively. So there's kind of qualitative and quantitative data that supports animals in prisons being extremely beneficial for inmate behavior and recidivism. They have to apply like any other job. Yep, and they go through an interview process. And it's a very high level and high responsibility job there. So they have to be a very model inmate to begin with. So they can't have any disciplinaries. There's certain things that rule them out, and then they have to go through an interview process that is overseen by our staff, some of the facility staff, but also some of their peers that are already in the program. So it's quite a robust process to be admitted into the program.
Do you have veterinarians on staff?
We don't have veterinarians on staff, but we do have a dedicated vet that has been with the program since the beginning. Yep. Any other questions?
I was curious about service dogs and ADA guidelines, and that's always a very touchy subject, I
Yes, sir.
guess. Kind of a twofold question. First of all, I'm guessing there's a way that I've seen service dogs where they have like these tags on, or they have some kind of I don't know if you call it a vest or what the word is, but they have something on that says service dog, and you assume that it's, you know, that's a legit service dog. I guess there's some way that you guys have your animals dressed, or I don't want to say you have a uniform on a dog, but basically you've got something on the animal that is a way for someone to know that this is a real service dog, that if there's a question, I'm just basically curious, like if you go into just a run-of-the-mill restaurant or anywhere else, shopping center, wherever they might not want animals, okay?
Yeah.
How does a person know? Because they're probably going to ask questions. I guess how much can they ask? Because there's probably a limit to what they can ask.
Yeah.
And how do they know that that is a legitimate service animal? I've seen stuff like this on Amazon for really cheap. I know that stuff is not really what you guys use. So I'm just
Yeah,
curious.
that is a great question, and it is very complicated and probably getting increasingly complicated, I would say. So a vest is really the only thing. You are not any service animal, and legitimate service animals can be trained by an organization like Retrieving Independence, but it is also true that legitimate service animals can be owner trained, and that is legitimate and legal. They just must be task trained. They must be trained to perform one or more tasks to mitigate a disability, which is pretty vague. And there are two questions you can ask. Is this dog task trained to mitigate a disability? And what are the tasks? You cannot ask what the disability is. You can't ask what the tasks are. Those are the only two questions. You can't ask to see an ID because you're not required to have one. Some do carry an ID, but you're not required to carry one. The vest, yeah, it is true, because someone could have a vest made and it not be legitimate, but we do dress ours anyway. We provide our handlers and our volunteers badges that kind of have the ADA language written on it. But it is unfortunately very easy for people to kind of cosplay as service dogs, and that makes it very difficult for people who have legitimate ones. You can also, I think the behavior of the dog is also very telling. A legitimate service dog is going to be quiet, well-mannered, and focused. And so and the other thing about that is, even if it is a legitimate service dog or not, if they're disruptive in any environment, you can ask them to leave. And that is perfectly fine. So it is complicated, and sometimes the federal statute doesn't interact well with the local state statutes, which makes it even more complicated. It's tough for businesses, and it's also tough for the individuals that have service dogs. So it's a bit of a gray area and difficult, and we're always happy to kind of help try and navigate that with people and help people understand the best we can, but it can be very difficult. So yeah, everyone's doing their best, I think. Yes, sir.
I have experienced this firsthand. My son's father-in-law is blind, and he had a dog for 8 or 9 years. Dogs, like people, get old.
Yes, they do.
And when they get old, they don't perform like they're supposed to. Now he's with about 2 years before he can get another dog. And watching these two people, the dog and the person becomes one. And it's his father-in-law's, it's his eyes. It really is. So Here's a man's been used to getting around quite some time. And now he's gonna have to wait 2 years. Is 2 years, that's a norm or?
Yeah, it is.
Is it
It's,
really?
it's really, really, the demand far outweighs the supply because it takes so long to train them. And it's such a, it's particularly with seeing eye dogs and hearing dogs, because that we actually do not train and place them because it's such a high caliber training. And so, yeah, that our waiting list ranges from 6 months to 2 years. And sometimes it can be longer. And unfortunately, that is standard across most organizations. I'm not aware of any that have a shorter waiting list than that.
Do you get your dogs from kennels or where? I mean, is there a
We
good
breed-
source, a bad source?
We breed our own, and we also bring in puppies from other ADI accredited organizations when they have a surplus of puppies. So we're really wanting to have dogs that come from proven lines of service dog success. So we want them to have a known aptitude for service work so that we know that they're likely to be successful. With that being said, not all dogs are destined to be working dogs. So there is situations where some of our dogs are released from the program. It could be for a medical issue, or it could just be that they are not motivated to work. And then we release them often to our volunteers, but they become professional couch potatoes. And so they go on to be pets.
On your volunteer program where you keep it for a week, can you go into kind of the details of all you're required to do and all with it?
Yeah. So what that entails, and it's usually done in teams. So you would be on a puppy raising team. So even in a whole week, you may not have the puppy the whole time. You can share that responsibility with 1 or 2 other people to accommodate everybody's differing schedules. And depending on which prison the puppy is coming from, if it's the one in town, someone from your team goes and picks pup up, or if it's from the men's prison, the puppy bus goes and collects it, and then you meet at a spot, the bus stop, to go get the pup. And then they just live life with you. They can go to the grocery store with you. They can come to events with you. They also can stay home. It's okay for them to stay in their crate for a little while. That's necessary for them too. They need to learn how to be in their crate. And they are service dogs, so they're not regular pets. So there are things that we teach and train you. You go through some onboarding and some training, and all puppy raisers during their week have to attend a training once a month. And that's just to stay on top of the skills, because it's not like a normal dog. For example, they can't say hi. Nick can because he's a baby. So he needs to be socialized. But when a dog has their vest on and they're a little older, they can't say hi to everybody, because in their working life, they have to be focused on their person. So they have to not say hi to everybody. And they have to learn how to focus on you, their handler. And so there are quite a few little things that are different from a normal pet, and our dogs are not allowed on furniture, that kind of thing. And so I know, I can see your sad face, and it's sad. They can play and they can snuggle, but there are just things that differ from just a regular dog and a regular pet. And so there's a 1-hour training once a month that someone from your team has to attend with the pup. And then the rest of the time, they really just live life with you or someone on your team. And that's really it. There's not really many places they can't go. They can often, people take them to work. They can go to the grocery. I mean, am I missing anything, Jessica? Not really. Yeah. 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 Yep. They can go on hiking trips with you. They can go kayaking, all kinds of things. They really can. And there are certain situations, particularly if we know their client, once they've been matched, goes to a lot of Preds games, for example, we would have you take them to a Preds game and they put on cute little puppy headphones so their ears don't get overwhelmed. Yes, sir.
What time and where is your event next Saturday?
It is at our headquarters, which is the Honey Alexander Center, which is off of Charlotte, is the headquarters for Family and Children's Service. That's where we also headquarter. And it is at 5:30 and it runs till 9:30. And tickets are available. You can go to our website or our Instagram, which is at Retrieving Independence. And there are links from there to buy tickets. And I hope you'll join us. There's varying different levels of tickets. There's tickets for latecomers, there are tickets, general admission. You can buy a whole table if you want, but please come. It's going to be really fun. There will be so many puppies there. Any other questions? Yeah, of course. Thanks for having us.
Lauren, on behalf of Rotary, we'd like to give you a pen. It's a really nice Rotary pen. And what we'd also like to have you sign this children's book, which we read to children periodically and let them know kind of what happens at a Rotary Club. So I'll get that from you over there. Thank you very much. All right. Hey, I want to again welcome our guest. We've got Steve, Rob, Dan, Josh, Scott, Michelle, Jessica. Thank you. Please come again. And if there's nothing else for the good of Rotary, we are adjourned early. And please help with the tables and the chairs, stack them up in 8. And that's it. Yeah, hold on. Yes. Picture with your dog. Oh, yeah. Come on up if you want to get a picture with that little dog. Thank you. Y'all have a good week.